Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Duncan, your host and creator of the TXK State of Mind podcast. Tonight, we're doing it a little bit different. We're coming to you on a Friday Night Lights. We have a very special guest with us tonight. He's been so gracious to come on in and talk with us about all the great things that he's doing in the Texarkana, USA community and his plans for the future. We have none other than Mr. Ayden Howard.
Hello,
sir. Yeah, welcome to the stage.
Thank you. I'm so excited that you decided to have me and delighted just to speak to your following, sir. I'm very happy.
Yes, sir. I think it's going to be a really good conversation. I had a chance to speak with this young man before we joined the show tonight. Very excited about the future of our community in the hands of this young man and the young people that are involved in the Scholars Program, as well as going through all the programs in our three institutions at Arkansas High, Texas High, Liberty Hour, and of course, Pleasant Grove as well. But tonight I want to give you a chance to get to know Ayden from behind the scenes. You see him out planning parades with the Juneteenth. You see him involved in all the things that the scholars are doing. But there's so much more to this young man that is going to have an impact on our future of our community and our country for years to come. So I wanted to bring you on, man, and give people a chance to get to know you, know your mom, know the proud mother that she is, and the work that she's instilled and the pride that she's instilled in you as a young man. So I wanted to give people a chance to come out and talk, kind of listen to you, have a conversation, chop it up, because I see the light is on you. You have so much promise of the things that you can do, and I want you to be able to come in and talk. So my first question to you, we'll give you a softball. We're going to throw you a softball.
Yes, sir.
So we talked a little bit. We talked about your passion, what motivates you. But what inspired you to get involved in community activism at such a young age? You started pretty young with the things that you're doing now. So talk to us about what inspired you to get involved in the community.
Yes, sir. No denying for a fact that person, force, entity, that would definitely be my mother. Like, she instilled that community service aspect in me, but also being able to invest back in something that you could reap from, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Like getting out there into the community. I know when I was a child, I would complain about things. There's something to do in Texarkana. Just saying like negative things, but I never got up to try to create a solution to it. So she just instilled in me like it's one thing to have a complaint, but it's one thing to have a problem. A complaint is something that you may express, but you're looking for a solution. A problem is something that you've settled for. So definitely wanting to find a solution to how I feel. But then also that was like my main thing. But then the other thing was just seeing the exposure and the networking things that brought me, and I knew that I hung around people and that I still know people to this day. They may not have a role model to where they could depend on. And not saying that I necessarily want to be I do want to be a role model, no denying that. But I want to be somebody to where Black males they could just connect to, relate to, or talk to about things, but also kind of be like the epitome of what you could be, but also set them up for much, much more.
Right, I understand what you're saying. And I think that's the role that you're kind of playing out, because I think people are taking notice. I know it's my first knowledge of you before I moved back here, and I saw this young guy out there planning this massive event at such a young age, and I'm like, I need to get to know that guy. And so, and thinking about the Juneteenth parade that you've been planning for so many years, can you share a little bit about your journey in developing that, deciding to take over that handle to say, I want to be able to talk about Juneteenth. I want to be able to highlight all the different contributions of my community. So can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, sir. I'm actually very glad you asked that question, because initially Juneteenth Parade wasn't going to be Juneteenth Parade. Right. It was going to be like the Black Business Parade, because my first year hosting the parade was in 2021. And that was the year, I believe like a year prior to that, or not even a complete year, just a couple of months. My mom had first started her entrepreneurial journey with Resilient Studios. And I saw like as a Black woman, it was kind of different. I don't know any business owners personally as much as I know my mom, but I've seen other business owners. And I've seen like how easy it was to network or get help or just get the assistance that, of course, like business owners need. And I saw that it wasn't the same with her. I mean, she faced adversity. So I wanted to like create some type of network or system that all types of nonprofits, organizations, businesses could come together and help each other. But help is one thing, but communicate was that's what I look for more. I wanted like a communication source between different networks, just like a whole networking system. and I wanted to have it in the month of February, but of course, like proudly today, it's Black History Month. The whole
Right.
month of February is Black History, and I wanted to do it in February, just because like the time February is a special month to me. That's my birthday month and
Right.
everything.
All
So it's
right.
like, oh, I gotta have this in February, February, February. But the thing was that, I mean, it contradicted the Black History Parade. And I didn't want to. If there's one thing that I don't want to do, I didn't want to take spotlight or to kind of cut or deprive somebody else of their moment, because I mean the Black History movement and parade in Texarkana, it's been going on years before I was even born. So I
Right.
wouldn't want to just come in and steal something, even though like it was an original thought. I wouldn't want to intervene with something already existent. So I'm just kind of thinking about, oh, what else could I do? What else could I help with? And then my mom told me that, okay, so she told me about Juneteenth, and I knew what Juneteenth was, but I didn't know the severity of it or like the depth of it. I didn't know what it really commemorated and what it meant.
Right.
So honestly, like before I honestly internalized that, oh, I'm gonna host a Juneteenth parade, it was more of an educational moment for me. It
Right.
was, I know Juneteenth was a, this was like my 11-year-old mind. So
Right.
please excuse what I'm about to say. But oh, I knew this was the day that the slaves were finally free. But like,
You didn't know
what
what
does
to
it
do.
really mean?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And then once I was way more informed with that, that kind of inspired me to just be like, okay, so I was an 11-year-old, and even though I heard about this prior to, on my 11 years on Earth, I've heard about it, but I never got like the true definition of what Juneteenth was. How could I use this information that I just received to spread with others and like help them become more knowledgeable, for number one, but also to still create this network that I wanted initially.
Right.
And then with the help of my mother, that was the birth of just Juneteenth parade. And
Right.
it was a lot more than, okay, so to be honest, like, of course, I go to the Christmas parade and the Black History and the MLK parade every year. I'm like,
Right.
oh, it's just people driving in lines in cars. What could be so hard about it? Or it's people setting up and selling their product. What could be so hard about it? But like the months that it takes to, if you really want an event to go like how you visualize it, the months of planning and preparation that it will take prior
Right.
to it, boy, it would drive you crazy. And
I understand.
that's what I learned doing I just learned Juneteenth. I don't know, like it taught me so much. It taught me, number one, about my ancestors, who they were, two, who I want to be and how I want to help their memory and their fight be known for generations to come. But third, it taught me like a sense of business sense that I didn't have prior to this. I the thing I honestly feel that having experience on something is way different than somebody telling me something, because you could tell me, I mean, you're pretty well informed with like the law and how the civics and how the government works. You
Right.
could tell me, you could be my teacher and speak to me 8 hours a day about it, but until like I actually find out about it,
Yeah.
yeah, experience hits different. So even though like I saw my mom having a business, actually getting out there, contacting people, asking for sponsors, setting up deadlines and stuff, like that really started my business mentality or my entrepreneurial mentality.
Yeah, because I think you're really right in the points that you're making, because getting involved, getting hands-on experience, that allows you to be able to see all the work that's going to need for you to be successful in that area. And you started out 11 years old, man. That's, you're like the Williams sisters, going out there and tackling an avenue that wasn't really tackled by African American females and tenants. So, and when you're a young leader, you started out at 11 years old, you're doing all these things, you're involved in different activities. What challenges have you faced in your role as a team leader? And how have you overcome those? Because I know there has to be a lot of things that your friends are doing. You have to be on a different level, a different path. So you don't always get to just delve into everything that they're doing, because you're at a level where you're seen as a leader. I know when I talked with your mom when we were getting ready to set this interview, she said, "Well, he works now. We need to coordinate around that." So you're involved in a lot of things and you work. So when you think about it, what are some of the challenges that you faced as a young leader in our community? I know you're going to different conferences around the state. So what are some of the things that you experienced as a challenge, and how have you overcome those?
Yes, sir. There's definitely been like a lot of benefits, but the issues and adversity it took like to get past that, I could, there's a handful of them, and I'm happy like to talk about it, but I just gotta think about, there's one that I really would like to focus about.
Go
We
ahead.
hear
Yeah.
about discrimination in terms of appearance, disability, race, ethnicity, religion, whatever, but we don't I feel like that we don't talk about age-related discrimination as much as we
Right.
could. Not being taken seriously as an 11-year-old, I remember people, I don't think that they saw me as somebody who had a dream or somebody who was trying to accomplish something, but more as a preteen just wanting something, but not wanting to do the things that it takes to accomplish it. I
Right.
remember one time I had asked, I was going around. This was when I was at like actually hen. This was my second year doing it, and by my second year, I still didn't have like the prominence that it has this year. Like this year, I don't have to, if I still want to, and I still do, just to be involved in the community and physically see the process. But like this was when the getting on oh my goodness, getting entries
You
for the
good?
parade really depended on me physically getting out there. I
Right.
walked into one shop and this man said, I showed him my flyer. I said like it had a speech prepared for everybody, and it was personalized to whatever business I was going to.
You're on the right track.
Yes, sir. And I went in there and he talked. He says, "Oh, well, are you asking for money or is this for charity or something?" And back then, like that truly offended me. And even to this day, like it still left the mark because I told you about it. But I just
Right.
realized that as a youth, number one, as youth, period, but secondly, as a black male, my message won't be taken as seriously, or it's not going to be internalized the same that it could be as my counterparts or somebody different. So definitely just like the age related discrimination in terms of how serious and determined I was to make my dreams accomplish. But secondly, and me and my mom, like we've even previously, like we've argued about this, but wanting, being a teenager in this age, like I still want to experience some things.
Right.
And it's like, being a leader, I feel like that I've been deprived of some experiences, or I felt that previously. Now I understand that, like, as a leader, you have to do you have to have number one leader characteristics, but then secondly, you have to have leadership actions. Like, you have to present yourself as a leader.
Right.
So I would say that, like, transforming and transitioning on the person who I wanted to present myself as, that was another main thing that I had faced. Those were two pretty big things. And
Okay.
then sorry, can I
Oh,
say
you.
one more?
Yeah. Go ahead. You got it.
The third one was really just getting connected to Texarkana because prior to this, I didn't have any deep rooted connections with anybody in the community. Besides Miss Shakita Burks and Rhonda Dawberry with the scholars, I wasn't connected to anybody else, and I had no outlet to talk to anybody or to spread these ideas or to get help. So networking, I would say the first 2 years of the program, definitely my networking and my social battery kind of went up. I would say 200%,
Right.
because I was never a shy person. But if I didn't have to be the person to where you look at and you're like, oh, that's Ayden. I wouldn't have wanted to be it. Like I like being in the background, or I like just being the observing person. I don't think being shy or timid, that doesn't describe me, but wanting to take on and adapt to being a leader, that was another challenge that I faced.
Yeah. Same with me. I think you're on the right path. Being a young leader, uh, you're always going to function in that role. I've been there. When you move into get into college, they're going to see it. You have the light on. Certain people are born to be leaders. You really can't. People can try to train and train and train their whole life, but it's something that's already in you, and it's groomed. And so you're going to find that as you move into different spaces, when you get ready to go into college and you get involved at that level, and then when you move into the corporate world, you're going to have those same experiences. You're going to be the youngest person in the box. I've been there. I've been the youngest supervisor, being 24 and having people that I supervised that were in their 40s and 50s. And the thing that you're doing and that you're learning right now is that you're learning how to adapt to that population that you're leading. You learn how to attend to their needs so that you can be able to get the best benefit, or the most get them to be able to have their fullest potential. So you're on the right track. So, and you have a really great role model in your mom, and that leads us into my next question: is
Yes,
who are your role models? Your mom influenced you a lot, but who are your role models? How have they influenced you to continue your work in the community? You mentioned how you were going to spaces and people really weren't receptive to you because of your age, but who are those people that nurtured you along with your mom to say, keep going, Ayden? You're doing this for a purpose. So who were those people? Who were those role models?
Okay, so I'm trying to think about that one because I grew up in a single parent home. My father, he's not active in my life. So my
Right.
mother she was just kind of like she taught me like a lot of different aspects of life. So that's why she's definitely my number one role models. There
Okay.
have been a couple of people in the community. Brian Matthews, like later in my journey, he definitely has came in, helped me, and taught me how things work,
Good
especially
man.
in terms of government, because I also voiced to him my vocational interest at the time, which I mean, it's probably a complete 180 from what I want to do
Right.
now. But back then, he talked to me about that. So Brian Matthews is definitely one. He taught me the political aspect of Texarkana life, but then not even Texarkana, just national life.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Rotary
it
Club.
was yes, sir. Derek Keener. He's you know, Mr. the
Yeah, I
comedian
know
man
this.
Derek Keener.
Yeah, yeah.
Derek Keener, he's definitely been one for me. He taught me like how to network, how to
Good
have a
man.
conversation, how to communicate for that aspect. But then also he always was somebody to where anytime he could support me, he chose to. But then on top of that, like he always would emphasize the fact that like he knows how important it is to have somebody to push him to get closer to that goal.
Right.
Yes,
You
sir. He
you
was
name you name some great people, man. I know them both. When you think about it, with your mom, I also grew up with a single mom.
yes,
I
sir.
spoke to you earlier, like she had me involved in all kinds of things, from theater camp to she used to do the boosters all the time for the athletics at Grimm Stadium for a while. But when you think about all those people, they're pushing you, they're motivating you. What motivates you to keep going? What motivates you to keep going out there in the community? You definitely you got some highs and you have some obstacles. What motivates you to keep that balance, to know that you have these responsibilities as a leader, and what motivates you to keep pushing?
There's two things that I would say. One is like the need for success, and then the second one is like the fear of failure.
Right,
Like for me, the need of success, I feel like that I've got accolades and I've accomplished things like by the grace of God, like He's allowed me to get some things completed and done in life. So it's
right,
like I would hate to feel that if I worked hard and put in years of like community service and leadership, like working on my leadership skills and advancing myself as a person, to feel like that would make my younger self feel. I don't know how to describe it. I feel like it would really harm my younger self. And
right,
then secondly, that fear of failure. I know like all the sacrifices and that I've made, my family's made, and that all that I've been through, like to have the to have had like the platform and the things that I've had built up, to feel that never was really an option for me.
right.
But then secondly, well, uh, besides those 2 points, a third thing is that I've been outside of Texarkana. I've like my skill set took me to Dallas, Las Vegas, Nevada. Like I wouldn't say all over the United States, but it took me to some pretty essential points for like the Black youth, Washington D.C.
Right.
So to just go to these different places and see how other Black people, how other African Americans are able to be successful in what they do and be able to be leaders, be able to be resilient and strong, it's kind of like, oh, I want to do that and I want to take us to the next level. So definitely also the ambition and the aspiration to take Texarkana and take the Black community to the next level, that drives me on a daily basis.
Man, I tell you, you're on the right path. How do you go about engaging and inspiring other young people that you encounter on a daily basis? You're in the scholars. I'm sure you're volunteering at the lower level grades. How do you go about keeping them engaged and inspiring them to be able to do not to so much do what you're doing, but find their niche so they can be able to impact the community as well as from their perspective? How do you go about motivating them or inspiring them to get engaged and involved?
I would say relatability and listening, because if you really want to if you want to help somebody, I feel like there has to be a sense of connection. And I connect with people by relating to either how they feel or their dreams or ambitions. So I can speak to somebody and we may not have a lot in common, but if I'm able to just find that one thing, I can use that like to cultivate like, okay, so we have even though it could be one thing in common, how do you feel about that? I'll tell you how I feel about it. We can brainstorm about it. And then listening, like I can speak I can speak on behalf of all of us. Like we want somebody to listen to us.
Right.
It's one thing to just get advice thrown at you, but if you hear what I say and you listen, and then we both construct the solutions to the issue, like that's very essential. I think that a liaison between the older and the younger generation is needed. But then, secondly, listening from both generations, that's very essential to make sure that a change is happening. The That's how I definitely would connect, relating number one, because like I said, you have to get into their mind, help them and be able to help them. and then listen. You can listen to what they have to say to you, and then they can listen to how you feel about it. And in terms of, I'm sorry, one more thing.
You good,
In
man?
terms, yes, sir. In terms of finding your niche, to help somebody find their niche, you definitely need to know the person and know their core principles and values. What is something that they're very adamant about, or something that they don't like, something that they would like to see change or improve, or something that they want to help maintain or keep consistent.
Right.
Knowing your audience in all aspects of life, whether that's you speaking to somebody or building relationships with somebody, that's something you need to do, is get to know the person to be able to help them learn their niche.
Man, you good. I love it. I love it. So when you think about it, I'm pulling into, because we talked about some things before we got on. We talked about what you're doing in high school, but we also talked about your plans for the future. So when you think about it, next question: what are your plans for college? How do you think your experiences as a community activist, being involved, will influence your college journey? Because I know you have some choices, some really good choices. You haven't made up your mind yet, but what are some of those plans for college for the future? What do you want to do? Or have you thought about what you want to do?
Yes, sir. Me and you spoke about this before we got on.
Yeah.
To the audience, I still don't know exactly where I would want to attend my collegiate career at, but definitely I want my community service to drive me. But I also want whatever my college life is, I want that to connect to that transition between adulthood. I want a connection between those two, but then I just want the community service to drive me. I'm sorry, can you ask like the first, like the part A of that question again one more time?
Yeah. What are your plans for college, and how do you think your experiences as a community activist will influence your college journey?
Okay,
Because
yes,
because the things you're doing right now, man, you're creating a path for whatever. You may not know what you want to do now, but once you do, everything that you're doing right now is going to set you up for success. So when you think about your college plans and the experience you had, how's that going to influence your college journey?
Yes, sir. I'm a leader, and that's something I kind of learned. So wherever I go, I need to make sure that I'm a leader and that I'm helping make that change. So I definitely want to go somewhere to where it could have possibility and opportunity for growth, but then also somewhere that I could come in and pioneer or innovate a complete new path.
Okay.
I want to
Yeah.
study abroad. That's something I don't tell a lot of people, but I want to study outside of the country, outside of the
Okay.
United States. I would definitely be interested to be here, to be wherever I attend college on campus for a semester, just like to get that American college life. But I'm very ecstatic to get out into the other parts of the world and just see the culture.
Yeah, you could be saying like my oldest daughter. I was telling you earlier, she's in her second year in pharmacy program. She'll be going into her P3 year, and then her final year, and she's going to have opportunity to be able to go and study abroad, and because our field is to become a compounding pharmacist. So studying abroad is going to allow you to be a little bit more well-rounded, to see how things are done on a global level, to see how you can hone your leadership skills to be able to come back to our community, and be, if you choose to be able to impact that. And so my next question, and we'll come with our final question, but my next question is how do you hope to impact your community in the long term? You're doing a lot of great things now. You plan on going out in society and making an impact there. But what impact do you hope to make in your community in the long term, even if you're not here?
Mhm. I hope that I can make an impact that helps businesses communicate, help each other, and network with each other, just for like the socioeconomic development of Texarkana, but then also just so businesses aren't the buildings that they happen at or the devices that are in them, but it's the people there. So I want to see people connect in Texarkana. I want to see businesses connect, and I also want to see the older generation and the newer generation connect. Like if I am able to see that happen and manifest into fruition, you don't understand like the type of happiness that would help me see. I want
Right.
to see that like the older generation, I mean, they have like the past that helped us get here, but they also have knowledge and they could give us predictions or projections for the future. The
Right.
newer generation, we have like a sense of self, I would say more than like the older generation had, but then also we're more experienced and we're more knowledgeable about like the new technology we have,
Got
the
it.
new resources that we have. So working together, that and those like the older generation and the newer generation and businesses coming together, like Texarkana could become like a powerhouse city in the United States. Like there's no telling what we could do once we have those things accomplished. And
Exactly.
that's what I want to work towards, to just get Texarkana to that next level.
You're on the right path, man. I know we talked about that earlier before we joined on doing our little prep. When we talked about the history of Texarkana, we talked about the Jameson building, and we talked about, because we both toured and our parents talked about it. It's so much history within our community, just in that downtown area, that I think the entrepreneurial spirit of people within our community, if we can just bundle that and put it back there, and how much we can grow, because we talked about how our biggest impact, yeah, we can do it on the national level, whether it's voting, being active, but our biggest impact is going to come at the local level by getting out there and vote, impacting the community through our civic duties, being able to vote, getting involved with the election system, so we can be able to make change. I think more and more, as we get more and more young people involved, like yourself and the young men and women that are in the scholars program, I think we're going to be able to do that. The future is bright for us. I already told you, I said, hey, you can come back and be our mayor. Texarkana, you have that on you. So the future of our society and shaping that is going to be with the young people. Like you said, you guys are steeped in the technology, but if you can tap into that wisdom of that know-how that the older adults are having, like the experience that your mom has, the Brother Matthews and Brother Keener, and I even throw out my Pastor Kenneth Reed, being able to tap into those resources. The sky's the limit for young people like yourself. I'm really excited about what I see in you, what I see in the scholars. So I'm really excited about that.
Yes, can I interject and say one thing? I don't know how this completely slipped out my mind, but the Jameson building,
right.
that architect of Texarkana, like that's pretty much our Black Wall Street. That's something I want to revitalize Texarkana as well. I want to revitalize like the Black contributions and the Black innovation in Texarkana, and be the staple that brings it back. That's definitely something else I'd like to accomplish. The Jameson building, and to the audience, me and Mr. Jeremy talked about this prior to us getting on. But I told him that like if we were able to revitalize that building and get it back like to its inception and its principles in terms of Black entrepreneurship, that would make my life. That would make me very delighted to see.
Hey, we got a great young man, right? And if you have not been into the Jameson building, I was talking to Ayden, like it's like stepping back into time, because you go up to the top level and you can still see the office numbers and names of the doctors and the dentists and the lawyers and things that used to feel that. So if we can get that going, I think that's good. I know they have some talks of how they want to develop it, but I think it's going to take our contingent within our own community to work with the family that owns that and be able to bring that to back where it was, because that was the hub of the Black community, of the black businesses and things of that nature. I talked about with you about the green book, and there was a red book in Texarkana, and Mr. Jameson in the I forget the name of the board, they were deeply focused on highlighting Black businesses, Black entrepreneurs that were making things possible for people in the community. So I'm not going to keep you much longer, but I have one more question for you.
Yes, sir.
This has been a really great conversation, really good conversation tonight on TXK Conversation. But my last question for you, so you can kind of talk to the audience and get your voice out to them and things that you want to do. What advice, and this for young people and people that's young at heart, but what advice would you give other young people who are looking to make a difference in their communities?
Let me think. Okay, so number one, what I definitely would say is don't go with the crowd. Be like the anomaly or the person who's everybody else is going left, but you turn right. Like be the difference in what's going on. But then secondly, once you found that difference in what makes you different, embrace it and optimize and capitalize off of it as much as you possibly can. And I would also like to inform and encourage you to network with the older generation. It may be hard. For me, it was hard. But just find somebody who kind of aligns with what you dream or what you want to be when you grow up, or a role model. Just find your role model, connect with them, but then also be receptive and listen to the advice they give you, but then also apply it to your life, because you could tell somebody something 1,000 times, but if you don't want to apply it to yourself to better yourself, there's no need for them to waste any more breath. So definitely receive and apply, be different, but then also with everything you do, think about the legacy that you want to leave behind. Don't engage in anything that you wouldn't want other people to know, or be who you would like want your kids or your grandkids or future generations, like leave a lasting legacy in everything that you do, and everything you do. I hope that you make sure that it does inch you towards the legacy that you want to leave.
Man, I tell you, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for the future that we have. Again, hey, I'm telling mom, hey, this is a young man. I'm gonna try to coax him on back once he go out into the world, because I think he's gonna be a good leader for us to help us keep transcending into the place where Texarkana should be. Texarkana was always a great place. No matter the negatives or whatever, I always have fond memories of growing up here and Friday night, Saturday nights, being involved civically, and you're just an extension of that. And I really appreciate you for doing the things that you're doing, being a role model, being a great son for your mom, a good example of the hard work she's putting in as a single mom. But again, just being a true representation of what our founders, our leaders within our community, especially in Texarkana and abroad, have sought out to do. So, man, Ayden, I'm really happy that you came on. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I thought this was going to be a candid conversation, a great conversation. It topped that. Ayden, you're always welcome to come back on. I'm looking to maybe do some with you where you can do some on a level that you might want to do for like podcasting and things of that nature. But tonight, we got to hear from a rising voice, a journey of a young change maker, and that's Ayden Howard. So, ladies and gentlemen, applaud him. You see him around the community. Stop and talk with him. You will not be surprised once he starts talking. He might seem a little shy now, but guys, bursting with knowledge and vigor to be able to help us take our community to the next level, as well as our overall country. So again, Ayden, I really thank you for coming on, man.
Yes, sir, Mr. Duncan. I would like to say, for number one, thank you for having me and connecting me to the Texarkana State of Mind. Thank you for allowing me to be able to get my message off to your followers and the people who are like happy and anticipate to hear what you have coming up next. And then secondly, thank you for recognizing and acknowledging my accomplishments, because as the youth, sometimes we could get discouraged when we don't hear we could do something and like we want to get praised for it. But I know sometimes like we might not get praised, but that shouldn't help us. That shouldn't make us stop in our tracks, the progression that we're making. So I really am very grateful, and I'm satisfied, honestly, with you being able to recognize and acknowledge those accomplishments.
Yes, sir, man. You got a bright future ahead of you. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, what's your TXK State of Mind, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. See you.